What is going on, guys? This is my full card prediction and betting breakdown for UFC Fight Night Medic versus Rodriguez in Belgrade, Serbia this Saturday. And let's dive right into it with the first fight of the night being Jovan Leka, the hometown kid, versus Alexander Popik. I am not doing a breakdown for that first women's prelim fight. I do not care. We do not care. Let's dive right into it. The heavyweight fight starting us off in the card, Jovan Leka. You guys may remember him for his pretty mediocre Contender Series win last year against some Kazakhstani heavyweight. He is coming off of a 6-fight win streak. I believe he won two fights after that bout. Maybe last September, last August against the Kazakh guy where he won by decision. That fight obviously did not get him the contract, but here he is coming off a win streak in the regional scene after that Contender Series fight against Popik, who is typically a light heavyweight fighter, and I think he's going to struggle with the size of Leka in this one. I mean, clearly, look at the bloke on the left. He's a big fella. I think Popik really just took this fight so we can get into the UFC. I'd imagine he's going to go back down to 205 after this one. But Popik's athletic. I think, well, obviously he's going to have the speed advantage. Usually a 205er, he's probably going to weigh around 225, 230 in this fight is my guess. Maybe a little bit more. But I think once Leka gets a hold of him, which is going to be tough, I think in the big cage, Popik's going to be moving him down, moving around, in and out, and Leka is going to struggle tracking him down. But eventually, once he does grab him, puts his weight up against him on the cage, I think that's going to drain Popik. And I believe Leka actually should be able to take him down. I think the longer the fight goes, Popik's going to start fading. I expect a late round finish from Leka. We saw him have success late against his Contender Series opponent, where he really poured it on in the second half of the fight. And I think with the weight difference, I'm expecting a submission, maybe an arm triangle on top, or maybe if he gets ground and pound TKO finish. We saw him rip a mother's milk on the Contender Series. That was crazy. So yeah, I think I'm going to take Jovan Leka by round 2 arm triangle. Popik is pretty good. I could see him having success, but obviously he's not a real heavyweight, and Jovan Leka is going to put the Serbians up 1-0 in my books. I believe there's a Serbian chick on the first fight of the night, which is women's prelims, and I'm not breaking that down. I don't care. I'm not counting it. Let's move on to... Yeah, no. Same thing with this one. We do not care. Let's move on to my boy Mateusz Rebecki versus Kyle Prepolek, or Prepolech, whatever. I think Rebecki is at this point in his career where he realizes that he needs to get finishes early to avoid opening up that scar tissue because it is becoming a glaring weakness in his game. Like, Prepolech is good, and he has some tools in his game that could give Rebecki issues in this fight, like that lead flick head kick. His jab's pretty nice too. He's fighting out southpaw, so maybe it's a little uncomfortable for some guys. But I really think Rebecki can put him out early. Like, once Stober knew he was fucked over in that fight against Prepolech, and he started just marauding his way forward, it was actually pretty easy for him to find that finish. And I think like the forward pressure and marauder attribute of Rebecki's game is just perfect for a fight against Prepolech. Like, I expect a first round KO in the first couple of minutes from Rebecki, clipping Rebecki or Prepolech on the temple with a hook in the pocket or something and sitting him down. I love Rebecki. I'm glad he's getting a jump down in comp because he's just been getting fed killers after killer after killer, and he really deserves this, and I think he cashes in on the opportunity. I'm taking Rebecki first round KO. I believe he's sitting at like minus 500 right now, which is a little bit crazy, but maybe you can get some prop. The props aren't out for this fight, but I'd imagine KO is a decent price, and then maybe first round KO, that's something we could look into. That's the thing that sucks about doing these breakdowns so early in the week. I don't really have like the full look on the props, but let's just move on to Bogdan Grad versus Denis Buzukja, whatever the fuck his name is. So yeah, both fighters here are probably on the verge of being cut with a loss, so we've got a lot on the line here, Buzukja is the more technical striker, but it really doesn't matter when he has such a bad chin, like especially in these 4-ounce gloves, Like, Grad is really tough, really strong. He's got the grappling advantage, so I expect him to be able to enforce that part of his game and stay on the front foot. I think Grod's going to get tagged on the feet. Like, he doesn't really have any head movement. He'll just walk forward like he was throwing up this weird X guard against the Brazilian that he beat in his UFC debut. I forget the guy's name. But, yeah, he's going to get tagged on the feet, but I still think with the forward pressure and top control with the takedowns, Grod will be able to get the win. I don't think Grod really has the power to get this done inside the distance, so I'll expect a clean 29-28 decision from Grod, maybe dropping the first and sort of, implementing his ground game throughout the second and the third, wearing on Buzka, and then landing some shots on the front foot as Buzka gets more tired. So, I'm taking Bogdan Grod by decision. He's sitting around minus 200. I would say that's a pretty fair price. Would hope for it to be a little bit closer, but that's what we're getting. I wouldn't really take that as a parlay piece or anything. I'd probably just sit that one out. But here we have Borislav Nikolic versus Mark Vologdin. This fight's going to be a fucking banger. I'm excited for this one. Both these dudes are sick fighters to watch, and absolute dogs, and I'm really expecting this one to be a scrap. And Vologdin, he's so crisp and technical. Like, he has such a fun style, but he's always going to be at disadvantage at 135. He's only 5'3". He's got a 65-inch reach, and on the other side, they've got Nikolic, or Nikolic, or whatever the fuck. He's extremely chaotic. He throws this wild rear uppercut and throws really loopy hooks. I expect Vologdin to be able to win this first round clear, and I actually think he might be able to drop Nikolic, maybe a quick flash knockdown. But Nikolic has insane recovery. Like, in this fight, on the regional scene, he was fighting this black dude, and he got dropped like bad 2 or 3 times, and somehow he survived and eventually catches this guy bad in the 4th round, gets a nasty ninja choke, and puts this guy out cold. It was fucking sick. But I think in the process of going for the finish, Vologdin's going to gas out. It's a very niche thing that I'm calling out here. I think Nikolic is going to get dropped in the first round, flash knockdown. Vologdin's going to put the peat on him, try and finish him. Nikolic is going to be able to get out. And, we've seen Vologdin gas out in both of his fights so far in the UFC, including his Contender Series fight, where, in that Castaneda fight, he wasn't really putting out too much work. Like, I can see him gassing in that Martinelli fight, or where the fuck that guy's, Luna Martinelli or something like that. But in the Castaneda fight, he still gassed, and he wasn't doing anything too crazy from what I remember. So I think if he tries to go for a finish in the first round, he's really going to blow his load early. So I'm expecting Nikolic to have a strong 2 and 3, at least a really strong second half of the fight, maybe late second round, he starts to put it on Vologdin, wins the 3rd round clear. And I don't know if I'm picking Nikolic, if you guys can't tell, but I don't know if he gets the finish just because of how fucking durable Vologdin is. Like, he was getting fucking pieced in that Martinelli fight, getting pieced in that Castaneda fight. Really, the only reason he got the draw out of that Castaneda one was because of the low blows. But, I don't know if Nikolic gets his finish. Vologdin's so durable. Nikolic has got the high finish rate, but I'm going to say decision. I think Nikolic gets this one done by decision. We're going to see the scorecards. I'll see a 29-28. Maybe a draw. Maybe Nikolic gets 10-8'd in the first, or Vologdin gets... I don't know. I mean, this is a crazy fight. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm taking Nikolic by decision. And let's move on to the next one, which is... Don't stop disrespecting the fighters. Oban Elliott versus Michael Oliveira. Man, I feel bad for Oban. This is a tough spot. He's on a 2-fight skid now. Absolutely blew it against Mikhailov and got smoked by Sung Hyuk Ko. Oban's good, but on the feet, he's dealing with an absolute monster in Michael Oliveira. Oliveira's boxing's fucking disgusting. He's really patient. He's got a good understanding of space and distance. He's got sick pullback counters, stone hands. And I think it's going to be really tough for Oban to find his shots. Oliveira's got a 78.5-inch reach compared to Oban with a 72. And when Oban goes first, he leaves himself open too, as we saw. He got wobbled bad. Well, maybe not bad, but he got wobbled against Mikhailov in that first round of their fight. I think the way Oban's can win this fight is by doing some real damage with the calf kicks. Oliveira's got a really wide and low stance, so I could see Oban doing some damage there, maybe sort of destabilizing the game of Michael Oliveira, and then he can land his shots and sort of pull it off late. But unless there's some huge hole in Oliveira's grappling game, I don't think Oban's going to be able to get this done. Who knows? Michael Oliveira was fighting absolute cans in the regional scene, but, he passes the eye test with flying colors. He looks absolutely incredible. He beat the dog shit out of that Chilean on the Contender Series fight, who actually ended up in the UFC and beat Max Griffin, I believe. I think Oliveira is going to get this one done. I think Oban's going to get jabbed up bad early. I think eventually he's going to try and close the distance and get boomed with a tight shot in the pocket from Oliveira. Oliveira's just so dangerous on the feet. I don't know. I don't know if Oban's going to be able to get this done. Oliveira's sick. He's one of my favorite prospects coming off of this last Contender Series year. So, I think Oliveira gets this one inside the distance. I'm going to say round 2 KO. He's really patient. He likes to pick his shots, and I like that about him. I think he's not going to rush a finish if Oban is hurt, which I think Oban will get rocked pretty bad a couple times in the first round. I'm going to take Michael Oliveira's second round KO, dropping him with a tight hook inside, finishing it up on the ground, and Oban's going to be a bloody mess, and he might be on his way out of the promotion. I hope not. Love Oban, a Welsh bloke, but it's tough bout for him. And next, look at that dirty little fucking goblin. I hate Tafik Musayev so much. He's going to get whooped. He's going to get whooped by my boy Ludovic Klein. The only reason Tafik isn't 0-2 in this promotion right now is because he cheated so bad in that fight against Ignacio, another one of my boys, and he's got it coming to him in this one. I think you just compare these two, their fights against Ignacio Bahamondes. It clearly shows that Klein is the better striker. I know Tafik is very experienced. He's got a lot of fights outside the promotion. He's fought some decent guys. But Ludovic Klein is really coming into his form. I think I'm confident enough in Klein's takedown defense. I think he'll be able to keep this fight on the feet, where he's a superior boxer. He had the stinker against Gamrot, but bro, Gamrot's next level. You can't get mad at him for that. He also got put into the main event at short notice. Maybe the brights were too light, or the lights were too bright. But I don't know. Klein's really got nasty kicks too. He's got nice knees. He can utilize, especially if Tafik opts to fight in an orthodox stance, so he'll be open. The leg injury is definitely a concern for Klein, but he's had about 10 months to heal. I think he'll be back in top form for this one. Tafik is also 36 years old, and he's going up against a hungry Klein. He's shooting for the top of the ranks right now. I could see Klein getting this done by knockout, but I think Tafik is good enough to survive the 15 minutes. So I'm going to go Klein. 29-28 decision, maybe 30-27, but I could see Tafik having some success, but not enough to get the decision, not enough to get the nod. Look at this dirty little fucking goblin. I hate him so much. Let's go Ludovic Klein, Garth and Ludovic Klein. Let's go. Ludovic Klein by decision, boys. So next we've got Milos Janicic versus Noah Gagnon. I don't know how to pronounce these guys' names, but I'm leaning Janicic in this one. Though his recent stint in dirty boxing concerns me. I think 3 of his last 4 combat sports fights are in dirty boxing, which is strange. But the reason I'm still leaning Janicic in this one is because of his wide stance, in and out movement, and I think this is going to cause problems for Gagnon. Gagnon is a primary boxer, and if he can get some nice calf kicks off, I think it could slow down the movement of Janicic the same way Oban Elliott could maybe have success against Michael Oliveira, but I just don't really think that's in his arsenal from what I've seen. Also Janicic is from Montenegro, a neighbor in a neighbor of Serbia, and a country with a strong relationship with them. So I expect that the UFC would want to give him a favorable matchup to get the crowd going. He also trains with a couple of the guys and girls, I think, that are on this card, which also makes me think they're going to want to give him somewhat of a favorable matchup here on this card. Janicic has a 100% finish rate. mostly against cans. Like, I think he fucking knocked out Cowboy Oliveira recently, maybe into like his second to last MMA fight, which shows you that he's really not fighting anyone good. But I'm gonna say that he still gets a finish here. I wanted to take decision, but I could see him, maybe weakening Gugnon with some body shots. He eventually comes over the top and puts him out with right hand. I'm gonna say second round Janicic KO against Noah Gugnon. So now let's move on. Vlasto Shapo versus Gilbert Urbina. This dude, Vlasto Shapo, is absolutely hysterical. He is literally the definition of big meaty hooks. Like, watching him fight is so funny. He'll just move forward the entire time, throwing hook after hook after hook after hook until he just catches you on the chin and puts you out. Like, there is a kryptonite to his game. He's really not that good. Like, he allows himself to get stalled up against a cage in a lot of his fights, and it seems that he's not really skilled in any department of the game besides marauding. And he also only has one fight that has gone out the first round that he's won. So if Urbina can get through that horrifying first 5 minutes, then his odds of winning really do skyrocket. There's definitely a clear pathway to victory for Urbina, as I just said, but he's been put in this spot against the fan favorite Serbian fighter for a reason. He's coming off of 2 first-round knockouts, his last one being a left hook from Radke, which is Shapo's strongest weapon. So, I mean, I'm going to go Shapo first-round knockout, but realistically, like, if Shapo can't make any major improvements in his game, like with the wrestling and the cardio, then this is going to be a short run in the UFC. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be short. I'm taking Shapo by first-round KO against Gilbert Urbina. Let us move on to Sneeko. All right, Sneeko versus Bootleg Yuri here. I'm going with Bootleg Yuri. I'm going with Robert Valentin. He's a more dangerous fighter on the feet. Dusko's going to try and get this on the ground, I think. But I think Valentin's going to be able to use his jiu-jitsu off bottom and escape the positions the same way Zachary Reese was able to against Dusko Tudorovic. I know Valentin's been beaten in the grappling in 2 of his last 4 fights in the UFC, but like, Dusko's not going to be able to hold up Valentin against a cage the same way like Torres Finney was able to. And Valentin also got injured in that fight against Ryan Loder. I do not care. Fuck Ryan Loder too. He's just such a boring dude. But yeah, I actually am going to pick Robert Valentin by submission. 7 of his 11 wins are by sub. And I could see Dusko shooting in and Valentin maybe pulling off a ghillie or maybe transitioning that guillotine into mount and then a back take where he gets a rear naked choke. I think 5 of his wins are by rear naked choke. He could get this done by knockout, but I think Dusko's durable enough to stay alive, and he'll end up shooting a bad takedown. Valentin pulls off the ghillie, transitions into a rear naked choke. Something along those lines. I am going to take Valentin by submission. I think Valentin, he's sitting around minus 170 right now. I actually really like his inside the distance play that's sitting at minus 125. So that's a decent play for Shapo. Yeah, we're taking first round KO. Sorry, I forgot to go over this. I would probably stay off of this one if I'm being honest with you. Ludwig Klein, minus 230. Not a great price. Oliveira KO. It's probably going to be shit, but Oliveira could definitely be a parlay piece. And then Nikolic, minus 200. It's a tough card to bet on. Tough card to bet on. I really like Rebecca knockout. We already went over that, but there are a couple plays I like later in the card. And here's one of them, actually. Right? I think we are on the right one. Yes, Alexander Rakic versus Marcin Tybura. Bro, this is going to be a beatdown, man. I'm so happy Rakic is finally getting back in the win column with this one. I really like the move up to heavyweight for him. I really like the move up to heavyweight for a lot of these light heavyweights. We've seen Ryan Spann have success. Maybe not Kennedy Nzechukwu. I really thought that was going to work for him, but I really like the move for Johnny Walker too. I think that just the skill gap between light heavyweight and heavyweight it's astronomical. I mean, just look at the build of these two guys. Rakic is so much more athletic. He's so much faster. He's going to be stronger, I think. Rakic is a 6'4", fucking Serbian monster. And Tybura is just a blob, man. He's just a blob. I think Tybura is really, really going to struggle with the speed, the power, and the skill of Rakic. Like the same way we saw him struggle against Delija. Delija just marauded forward, landed fucking 20 unanswered shots on him, and I think Rakic should be able to do the same thing, you know? I really think Rakic is going to just feast on these dudes outside the top 10. Like, it's easy pickings, bro. I can't believe Rakic is only minus 300. Like, this is a fucking free bet. I think his KO sitting at, like, plus 125 or maybe, like, plus 175 or something, which is insane. Like, I think he gets this done. First round knockout. He's going to be coming forward, throwing 1-2s, heavy kicks to the body and the head. I mean, bro, look at Ty Brewer's body, man. Come on. He's not eating fucking 3 Alexander Rakic body kicks. Like, I want a vintage Rakic first round head kick knockout. Give it to me. Alexander Rakic first round knockout. Let's do it. And let's move on to the co-main event of the night, which is Jan Blachowicz versus Navajo Sterling. Sadly, I'm going with Navajo Sterling in this one. Like, I want Jan to get justice over that Carlos Oberg fight by beating one of his teammates, but, you know, he's 43 now. He's coming off on a meniscus tear and surgery, and is fighting a young striker with a lot of skills for a light heavyweight. Like, and now this is a major point. We don't even know what Jan's biggest weapon is going to look like, which is his calf kick. He's coming off of a meniscus tear surgery. Like, and on top of that, I think Jan's really going to struggle with the boxing of Navajo in this one. We saw in the Guskov fight that his reaction time is slowly declining, and I think with an even more skilled striker in Sterling, he's going to get hit a lot. You know, Sterling's got really nasty step-in knees too. He digs to the body with that left hook. I love that against Ibo Kutalaba. And he's got real speed with the straight punches. It's sad to see, but I really think Jan should have retired when he tore his meniscus. That should have been it. He's 43 years old now, but this is the game, you know. Navajo will likely defeat one of the last guards in Jan Blachowicz. By knockout or by decision, I don't know. I would say decision just because I've always been skeptical of Sterling's finishing threat, his finishing instincts. You know, yeah, he's coming off of 2 in a row now, but he had a decision win against Bellato, a decision win against Ivan Urslan, and then a decision win against some other bum. Yeah, he knocked out Bruno Lopez or fucking Arthur Lopez, whatever the fuck that guy's name was, and Kutalaba. But Kutalaba literally quit in that fight, bro. Like, what the fuck was he doing? He just gave up, clearly. So I'm not too confident in Sterling's finishing instincts, his finishing ability, and I think Blachowicz is still gritty enough and tough enough to make it through 15 minutes. I'm going to say that Navajo wins this by 29-28 decision, and Blachowicz should retire. Let's move on to the main event of the night, which is Uros Medic versus D-Rod. I mean, this is really just another showcase for the Serbian fighter here. D-Rod's coming off of a Kevin Holland win and 8 months in a Tijuana in prison where he was eating like shit every day, and he lost 20 pounds of muscle. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with him. He lost 20 pounds of muscle, bro. He's 38 or 39 years old, and you're going to step back into a UFC octagon in the main event of the night fighting Uros Medic, a guy who's hungry in his hometown, home country, with explosive knockout power early in the fight. I don't know. He's being set up to be highlight reel tier, which is sad. I like D-Rod. I am a fan of him, but he's just too plotty for welterweight. He's 39, as I said. He's going to be even weaker to the body after that prison sentence. We all know the Chicanos. They're weak to the body, bro. And I think Medic is going to be able to open him up with the teeps and the front kicks that he was showing against Jeff Neal early, or maybe I'm thinking of a different fight. But I know Uros Medic, he's got really nice kicks up the middle, and I think that's going to be able to open up the shots upstairs, where I really just see Medic stepping in with the 1-2 and fucking folding D-Rod. Like, Medic has so much power and explosiveness early, and it's going to be hard for D-Rod to get out of that window where Medic is really dangerous, like that first, let's say, 7.5 minutes. But he is Mexican. Maybe his chin can hold up. But even so, bro, it's going to be weak to the body. I think Medic is going to be able to open up those shots with the teeps. Maybe he digs to the body, comes upstairs with a left hook, and fucking folds D-Rod. But I think Medic, by knockout, is free. I think it's sitting at minus 250, which is a bun's price. But I think if you parlay that with Rakic money line, that sits around minus 125. So I actually really like that play. I've already placed that parlay. So yeah, that's my prediction for the UFC Fight Night Medic versus Rodriguez card. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I wish I had method of victories. I wish we had some props that I could give you, a cycle parlay. I was thinking Rakic KO, Sterling decision, and then Valentin sub, but I don't know. I mean, I want to give myself more options. There's only 4 fights available with method of victories. So maybe I'll post it on my Twitter if you guys want to follow that. It's Mike's Fights and Sites, and I'll post my best bets over there later in the week. But yeah, those are my full card predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.